Hello and welcome back to another winning edition of Scene on Streaming. It's time to talk about the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 2021 reworking of the original 2017 film Justice League. So, I could sit here and I could do a big deep dive on the history of the Snyder Cut, how we got there, all of the social media campaigns and the dramas on set and Zack Snyder leaving the film, and there's just so much to go into. And if I was really a big fan of the Snyderverse and these movies, I could probably do a whole series about this. And if I had the time, I might have, because I really got won over with the whole Snyderverse, we'll call, the whole series of films. And it's only really this year that I've finally embraced it. And I wouldn't say that I finally got it, but I finally really enjoyed them more than I ever have. So I'm going to very briefly, before I get to the Zack Snyder's Justice League thoughts, give you the timeline of my thoughts on Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and the 2017 Justice League when they came out, and when I rewatched them just before the new one came out. So in March of 2021, I did go back and revisit Man of Steel. I watched Batman v Superman in the Ultimate Edition for the first time, and the night before, me and Connie watched the Zack Snyder's Justice League. We watched the Josh Whedon one, or Justice League, because I was just so fascinated by it. And for me, it wasn't this, finally I get to see what Zack truly intended, the movie I wanted to see, because I'm not really a big fan of and I say I'm not a big fan, doesn't mean I dislike them. I'm just not like, oh yeah, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the DC stuff has been hit or miss. But it's just one of those things where I'm not super amped up about it. But just the whole prospect, the fact that the fans wanted it for so long, and Zack was kind of hinting that it existed, and it was never going to happen, and then it was announced, and then all this stuff comes out, and you get to see what really happened, and then the Ray Fisher kind of drama kicked off last year, and so many elements at play, and I was just so fascinated to see just how different these two versions of the same movie would be, and reading more about it, because even when the film came out in 2017, there wasn't really that big of an impression, as far as I was concerned, on just how different of a film this was. I felt like Joss had kind of added in a few jokes, but I didn't realize just how fundamentally different he'd made the film, and just how extensive Josh Whedon's reshoots on Justice League had been in 2017. So with that in mind, when I first saw Man of Steel when it came out, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought Henry Cavill was great. But there were some elements I thought was a little like the whole Jonathan Kent saying, yeah, maybe you should let that whole bus full of kids die. It didn't sit well with me, but I enjoyed it. It just, I never felt the need to go back to it. But I did buy the Blu-ray with a nice shiny slipcover, because I thought at some point I might want to watch this again, and I did, sure enough, like 8 years later, and it was nice. That was another justifying thing where this has been sitting on my shelf for so many years, and when I really wanted to watch it again, it was there in the best possible quality. Well, I don't know if they have a 4K release out of it yet, but it was in a very good Blu-ray quality copy. I don't know where that came from, but it's in high definition. It's on Blu-ray, physical media. It's not streaming. I don't know. I just think that it's nice sometimes when you have a film in your Blu-ray collection that's been there for ages. You think, why the fuck have I got that? And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, the new Zack Snyder Justice League's coming out. I really want to watch those films again. I have them on Blu-ray. I can just pop them right in and watch them in great quality. Right. So Batman v Superman, watched when it came out in 2016. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. And actually, I would say that all three of them, if we look at it as a trilogy of films, but when the Josh Whedon one came out, all three of them I gave 3.5 stars out of 5. So again, 3.5 out of 5 or 7 out of 10. Just good films that I enjoyed. Had problems with, thought they could have been better. Had a lot of eye candy. Visually very splendiferous. But Batman v Superman, I enjoyed. The whole Martha thing was stupid as fuck. But I enjoyed it. I like the ending with the little dirt moving on the coffin there. I love that they went all in on killing Superman. I liked Ben Affleck as Batman. But I was just one of those things where I didn't see the fuss either way. The people who thought it was terrible, people who thought that it was a masterpiece, I didn't really see either argument. I just thought it was a good movie. Again, didn't really feel the need to return to it, even though there was a 3-hour director's cut that came out shortly afterwards. Then Justice League came out the year afterwards. Went to see that again in the cinema. I didn't see Man of Steel in the cinema, but I saw Batman v Superman and Justice League, and I enjoyed Justice League. The CGI, I gave Justice League a 3 out of 5 actually, not a 3.5. I enjoy Justice League. There's some fun stuff in there. I really like the characters. You know, you have of course, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Diana. You have, what's his name? Aquaman. It's completely gone. The guy who plays Aquaman, he's great. Ezra Miller is really fun as Flash. A little bit overbearing at times with this character, but, you know, pretty good. And then you had Ray Fisher, who was good as Cyborg. I struggled with the character because it's so CGI heavy, but I thought that he was pretty good, but didn't have much to dig into, which we'll get to. And then Ben Affleck came back, and Ben Affleck seemed a bit off in the film to me. And then Henry Cavill, obviously coming back as Superman, just didn't feel like he had much to do. And I don't know, I just, there's certain things I didn't like about the way it all panned out, but it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable fun. It was a nice comic book movie. You know, it felt like a comic book movie. Some silly stuff in there, you know, with Batman saying, "Oh, it's definitely bleeding," which is, you know. But the main thing I hated about the film was the CGI mouth that they put on Henry Cavill. It cracked me up that it was the whole Mission Impossible thing where they were going back and forth between Paramount and Warner Brothers about who's going to do what and who's going to pay for the mustache to be removed or shaved or a fake one added. And I love that they put their foot down at Paramount, and you know the far better film out of the two of those is Mission Impossible Fallout. So I'm glad that they didn't sacrifice in terms of that. But I do think that it probably would have been a lot cheaper to just pay for a really expensive, really great fake mustache. Anyway, so any scene that Superman is in Justice League, for the most part, I just can't not see the weird jumbly. You know, it just looked terrible. It looked laughable. So, you know, it was just one of those things where I just couldn't get over it, you know. But it was alright, I enjoyed it, and again, didn't really feel the need to go back to it again. So the Snyder Cut is announced and everything, and it's coming out on HBO Max. Came out on Sky Cinema here, which I wasn't expecting, and I thought you'd have to pay for it, but it came out on release day, and we have Sky Cinema, so it was, this is great. So I didn't quite get around to rewatching everything, so we watched it about a week after it came out, and all the takes had come in, all the memes had come out, all the people posting the Joker scene on Twitter, and you know, so Zack Snyder went back and filmed 2 new scenes for the, and that was something that I had an argument with Zaron Isaac on. He was on one of his live streams and he was talking about how, you know, yeah, they filmed like a whole movie's worth of stuff to bring it closer to his truer vision. And I replied in the chats on Twitch saying, no, he only filmed 2 new scenes. Like, what? No, he didn't. And I was like, well, what are you basing that on? And we got this argument. He was so adamant that Zack Snyder had been filming for months, but it was really that they were just spending months like doing all the visual effects and all of the stuff that he had initially shot, and doing the story and executing it the way that he wanted. The whole Steppenwolf design was entirely different. You know, Josh redesigned all of that and kind of came in and really made a different movie. Now, the base skeleton is kind of there, but it was absolutely fascinating to go back and watch the 2017 version and roll right into the 2021 version. But anyway, so revisiting Man of Steel, I enjoyed it a lot more than the first time. I'd now give it a 4 out of 5. Love the sequence when he's flying for the first time in the suit. With the music and everything, it's fantastic. I love Russell Crowe. Love Michael Shannon's performance. Still hate the whole maybe you should let the bus full of kids die thing, but the scene when Jonathan Kent kind of, you know, tells Clark to stand back and he gets spoilers, by the way, I'm sure you're assuming spoilers are going to be in this video, and he kind of stands back and gets taken away. That I forgot that he hurt his leg and he was going back for the dog. It was a bit more permissible that he would die there. So that one didn't bother me as much as it did the first time around, and it was just the line towards the end where the military woman was like, God, he's just so hot. And it's like, ugh, you know. But otherwise, I really enjoyed Man of Steel going back to it, and it's actually one I'd probably watch again a lot sooner than 8 years after the first time. So, yeah, it was fun going back to that and go, yeah, actually, and I've always liked Henry Cavill in the role. I think he's so good, and I'd like to see him do more with the character if he can. Batman v Superman, watched the Ultimate Cut for the first time. I've only seen the original once, so I didn't really go, oh, that's new. You know, I looked it up online to see what the new scenes were, but you know, I enjoyed it more again than the first time I saw it. We'd probably bump it up to a 4 out of 5. There's some really good stuff in the film. I think that the Lex Luthor character played by Jesse Eisenberg kind of is all over the place. Sometimes he really works with the performance he's going for. Other times I just see someone acting, which I hate, and it does happen sometimes, and I can't get over that. You know, there's certain scenes where it's just not working for me. The whole Martha thing, it came from a good place thematically. I think I'm almost behind the idea, but it happens so quickly, and the the tipping point is so dumb. I think that they could have arrived at it a better way than they did, I think. But it's fun. It's some action packed at times. I like the Batman versus Superman fight. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it. I think that the way that they portray that clash in The Dark Knight Returns is a little bit better, even though they kind of crib a lot of stuff from that. But I don't know, just there's certain parts of it that I like how they weaved in the ending of Man of Steel into the beginning, and I really like a lot of the stuff, even the Lex Luthor stuff and the side storylines that are expanded in the Ultimate Edition, but it wasn't this revelatory, wow, this makes it a masterpiece, wow, this is so much better. It's like, no, I enjoy it more now than I did before, and the extra length was good. So I didn't really have any new criticisms or anything. But yeah, another 4 out of 5 kind of bumped up for me. The Joss Whedon Justice League, watching it again was really interesting, and it just it feels kind of off. I don't know. And again, the Superman thing is really weird. The whole face thing. So Zack Snyder's Justice League. Holy shit! What a rambling intro. 4 hours long. It was actually like 3 hours and 52 minutes in the version we watched, and I was like, well, I wanted it to be 4 hours. It's like it almost felt like arbitrarily I wanted it to be 8 minutes longer just so I could say it was a 4 hour movie. But the reason, apparently, because it was through Sky Cinema and it's UK television, it's the PAL speed up issue. So the film is 4 hours long, but it was like 8 minutes shorter because of the kind of the frame rates, 24 frames to 25 frames per second, and how that kind of accrues across a 4 hour film is about 8 minutes or something. So anyway, that's all the thing that doesn't make any difference to the movie whatsoever. What did I think? We watched it in one sitting. We paused it here and there like we do with most films that we watch to go get a snack or whatever. But we watched the whole thing, and it's in 7 parts, I believe. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Gave it 4.5 out of 5. I think that the best one is Man of Steel. I think that's the best film overall. I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is very self-indulgent just by the length. I think that you could make a better film that's cut down a bit. It really did feel like throwing everything and the kitchen sink into the cut, which is fine, and I think that I'm glad that they released it as this big epic movie as opposed to a mini-series. I like that it is this kind of unashamed, kind of, again, self-indulgent, kind of bold epic, and you just see some of the scenes. Like, obviously there's just tons of scenes that weren't in the 2017 version. There's no scenes that use the Joss Whedon footage, so there's no Superman mouth, CGI mouth, but even like the stuff that's in the 2017 version that are now in the 2021 version, and then they're just expanded, like the Wonder Woman scene when she's kind of saving the civilians from the terrorists in London, and I think I already said London, but when she's in that building, and there's a shot from the trailer that was really cool, and it wasn't in the final movie, it's in the Zack Snyder version. There's more stuff of her blocking bullets, and when she throws the briefcase up, which I think one of the terrorists says is going to have enough power to blow up a few blocks or whatever, and in the 2017 version she throws it out of the window and it kind of goes above the building and just puffs, just a little tiny explosion. It's like, oh, well, that wasn't really as powerful as they said it was. And then there's the Zack Snyder version. She jumps out of the building and she throws it so far into the air, and it's like we go into the Zack Snyder slow motion, and then it boom, and it's like, wow, that makes so much more sense in the context of what they were hyping that bomb up to be. And you wonder if they're just like, oh, let's just not do that, or let's cut that scene down. We'll just make that shorter and make the explosion less impressive. I don't know. I'd love to it's just one of those things where something happens with a movie, and for lots of reasons they don't really go into all of that. Imagine a fucking no holds barred round table discussion where you just get or not even round table, just on one end Zack Snyder, on the other Joss Whedon, and just hash it out, go through the differences, talk about each of their reasonings, and just lay into each other. It would be amazing, just to kind of. But I think that the way that Zack Snyder approached it was to just never watch that version. And I think the story goes that his wife and at least Christopher Nolan went to see the Joss Whedon cut and said to Zack Snyder, you can never see that version. It's not your film. Don't watch it. So apparently he hasn't seen it, and that probably is for the best. I think that's the way to go, and I think, again, if he was offered, hey, let's do a no holds barred discussion with you and Joss and talk about dredge up all the drama, I think he would refuse it, and that's the right thing to do. But I'd still love to see the drama. But even if it was just a documentary that just went into a lot of the You know, what studio notes made those changes happen? Why did Josh think that was the right thing to do? You know, the joke where he has, you know, Flash on top of Wonder Woman, and there was apparently lots of stories of they wanted Ray Fisher to say "booyah" in the film, and he didn't want to do it, and they're like, well, you have to say it, and you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, seems to come from, you know, weird, you know, places, I think. One thing I'll say about the 2017 version is that Billy Crudup just destroys the whole cast in like 45 seconds. The scene with Barry when he's in the prison and he's talking about how you can't see me anymore, you need to make more of your life than kind of staying stuck in the past. His performance in that scene is incredible and the best thing in the whole film. And I was kind of worried that that was a Joss Whedon edition. And when he popped up again in the Zack Snyder version and there was more of him, I was like, fucking A. I was really happy because I think he's so good. And I'm so disappointed that in the Flash movie that's coming in a couple of years, I think it might be next year, they're recasting his father, so Billy Crudup won't be playing. I just thought that he's such a good actor, and he was so effective in that role for such a small, you know, amount of screen time. But anyway, the Zack Snyder version, we have the 4:3 aspect ratio where you do see more on the top and the bottom, so it's kind of more composed for an IMAX screen, I suppose. And there's been lots of controversy about that, and people moaning about it. Oh, it should fill the screen, and it's like, does it really matter if the black bars are on the top or the bottom? You know, well, that's just the exact same thing, isn't it? I'll leave that in for free. Does it really matter if the black bars are on the top or the sides? The top and the bottom or the sides? Does it really matter? If there's black space on the TV screen, does it really matter? And I do think the squarer aspect ratio lends itself well to kind of more vertical moments, you know, and it's just interesting framing choices, and people say that it's very, what's the term, pretentious. And that term, I always get caught up on that term, like what's he pretending to be then, you know? I don't know, I'm not sure I kind of agree with that per se, but you know, you see the comparisons of the 2017, the 2021, and there's more information in the screen and the image, and that's what kind of a 35mm frame looks like, and then they crop it in to make a more kind of wider image for, you know, to blow up on a big screen and stuff, and the quality of film is as such that you can do that without really losing the quality. But there's lots of things you can talk about when it comes to the aspect ratio, and I'm no expert or anything, but just as a base, you know, opinion as a viewer watching it, you kind of forget after a while anyway, you know. And it was just it was cool, it was different, you know. Sometimes it's nice to have a different aspect ratio. I don't think we should be you know, strapped to a certain kind of, you know, golden ratio where it's like that has to be the kind of standard for everything. I like it when films have different looks and different feels, and you know, it depends. Sometimes, you know, you look at things, you think, why did they do that? You know, The Mandalorian has it kind of with the bars on the top and the bottom. And in the first episode of season 2, there's a cinematic moment, and the bars kind of expand, and you get the full screen. And it's a nice idea, but you just think, well, you know, this is made for TV. Just have it fill the frame. It looks fantastic, you know. Whereas Zack Snyder, he's really thinking about, I would imagine, at some point in the future, he'd like to screen this film that he's quite proud of on an IMAX screen, and that version would look the way that it does. But it's funny when you watch a film and it's like, this film was presented in a 4:3 aspect ratio to tie in with Zack Snyder's you know, creative integrity. I don't know if they said that, but you know, to that effect, something like that. So I didn't really notice it all that much. I love that the Superman stuff was unfettered with the CGI mouth. There's just great moments that were lost in the 2017 version, and I just think that overall it works so much better. Cyborg is like the main character almost, and has so much more character and meat and depth. And I do think some scenes play out a little bit too long, you know, and it almost feels to me like he was really just using everything, and he probably didn't, but really just almost like padding it out to make it this epic, like to make people think 4 hours. It felt like they almost got close to it and thought, let's just get some scenes in there to get up to 4 so we can say it's a 4-hour movie. You know, so there's certain things like this scene when he goes inside the virtual space of looking at all of everyone's finances and putting money into someone's account who really needs it. I love the idea of it. It's really cool visually and kind of showing how he's inside this computer mind and everything, but the scene really dragged on. You kind of saw the point that they were getting at about 2 minutes before it was paid off, and I felt like it dragged on a little bit too long. To see a scene like where Aquaman, Jason Momoa, that's his name, when he is drinking the whiskey or whatever the alcohol is, and the waves are coming in, it's in slow motion. And in the Joss Whedon version, there's a really cool song playing, and it's really badass, and it fits really well. Zack Snyder, it's a much more somber song, and it's a completely different scene. And I just think that it's so fascinating to see two versions of a film. Usually when you see a director's cut or an extended edition, it's still fairly close, and even something like the Doctor Strange director's cut, which is almost like an entirely new cut built from the ground up in terms of like hundreds of different changes and things. It's still the same movie, it just has different elements to it, but these are just, they're so diametrically opposite in a way where it's just like, wow, that's just so different. There's so many, like, in terms of the color grading, in terms of the dialogue which Joss Whedon introduced, and so even the characters feel different. The discussion about whether or not they should resurrect Superman is entirely different in the Zack Snyder version. And I would say, well, I don't know, there probably are a few little things here and there in the Joss Whedon version I like maybe a little bit more than the Zack Snyder one, but for the most part, this Zack Snyder vision is pretty incredible. And I was impressed by the visual effects, considering this is something that they put money into, in terms of it's not like going to be this, theatrical cinematic release, and they were kind of, I guess they okayed it during the pandemic and spent months and millions of dollars, and and they're releasing it on physical media, which is fantastic. I think I would love to get the 4K Blu-ray. Hopefully it's a legit 4K transfer and not an upscale, but I really love the film. The moment with the Flash at the end, when it all goes to shit and he reverses time and brings everything back, that is an incredible sequence. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. How did they remove that from the film? It was so fucking good. The final fight with Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf himself is like, he actually has a character. He actually has a reason for doing these things, and there's almost a vulnerability to him that I just thought. And I was seeing the first shots of him from the trailers that they were releasing, and the metal spiky suit. I thought he looked like dog shit. But then you watch the movie and it's like reacting. It's like a reactive skin, almost like in Fortnite or something. But like it's reacting to the way he's feeling. I thought the design was so much cooler than just generic human-ish big bad guy, But so many of the scenes were different. It's just fascinating from a technical perspective of two different versions of a film that's so different. And that was fascinating to me, and almost part of the fun, I think. But there's so many more effective moments, and it's a 4-hour film. I watched it a month ago. I'm not going to remember everything. We have the Martian Manhunter stuff, which definitely felt shoehorned in, just as far as, okay, I'm not going to get to do Justice League 2 and 3, let's throw a few more things in. Even the Joker scene, I will say, by the end of Justice League, I was ready for it to be done, and then, okay, now we're going to do the big, like, 5 to 7 minute long, however much it was, nightmare future dream sequence with Joker and, was it Deadshot? Not Deadshot, Deathstroke. And they had, like, a weird CGI version of The Flash, of Barry Allen, Ezra Miller. I don't know why they couldn't get him to do it, but it's very clearly a CGI face, and it looked pretty ropey, actually. But you get Amber Heard back for whatever reason, and then you have Jared Leto coming back, and I have to say, I don't know what you're all smoking. Jared Leto in Suicide Squad, I thought, was a fantastic character if you view him as a gangster who has a fetish for the Joker character. He's not the Joker, he's just someone who's a fan of the comic book character and has tattooed himself all this stupid shit. That works great for that character. Really creepy guy, thinks he's the Joker, he's not really, and he's just got this obsession with the character. But no, he is meant to be the Joker, and I just, it doesn't work for me. He's alright, and they're now talking about the David Ayer cut, and he's trying to push it. It's not really getting much momentum, unfortunately. I'd love to see what he wanted, his original version of that film was. I enjoyed Suicide Squad. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, 3.5 out of 5, something like that. I think I rated it, but never really liked the Jared Leto Joker. It is what it is. Huge, shoes to fill. And then, Joaquin Phoenix came across and just showed you that maybe it's just Jared Leto who's not good as the Joker. But, it was a chance for him to do the role again. And it was good. It was alright. It was better than it was before. No damage tattoo, which was, I remember when that came out, the damage tattoo, and everyone kicked off about it. And they're like, oh, well, that's just a publicity shot. That's not how it actually looks in the movie, but it's how it looks in the movie. I don't feel like the Joker would tattoo damaged over his head. He was the emo Joker, I guess, and that's one version for a generation, I suppose. And if you like it, that's fair enough, but not for me. But people were hyping this scene up when they were saying this is the best Batman Joker interaction ever put on film. So you're telling me all the stuff with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson was not as good as that scene in Justice League. You're telling me all the stuff with, you know, Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, the interrogation scene, probably one of the greatest scenes, you know, at least in blockbuster cinema. But, you know, I would say that in film history, that's one of the great confrontation scenes. And you're going to say that, you know, there's the Jared Leto version with Ben Affleck is better than that. Even I would go as far to say that I like the Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't know who the actor is, but the young kid Bruce Wayne in Joker 2019, when he goes to the gates of the Wayne Manor and he puts his hands in and does the smile. That is a better Batman Joker interaction scene to me than the Jared Leto Ben Affleck one. It was nice that the Ben Affleck and Jared Leto versions of the character got to do a scene together properly, but I'm sorry, it's just having Batman saying "I'm going to fucking kill you" doesn't really cut it for me. That doesn't make me go, "Oh, he said fuck." The implications of that scene and the implied history that Joker killed Robin is really interesting and dark, but they're obviously not going to explore it, so it's more of a tease than anything. And just the way he's like fading in and out with the focus, and you can see that Zack was filming that on the set. And the trailer for Army of the Dead just came out, and they use a lot of that deep, not even deep focus, but like the really like almost like macro lens focus, where it's like super tight, super specific focus and really blurry background, and going in and out of focus. And he's clearly used that a lot in Army of the Dead, and he did the cinematography himself for Army of the Dead, so he clearly was influenced by that when he shot this Jared Leto Joker scene, and it just felt a little bit artsy-fartsy to me. And again, it goes along with that pretentious thing, but I don't think he's pretending to be like anything, but I say that it's almost, I don't know, trying to be a bit too fancy. You know, that's kind of the main thing. Again, I wouldn't say someone's being pretentious, but just trying to show off a bit, I guess. It just felt a bit unnecessary with the scene, except for the part where he does pull out the Joker card and it comes into focus. That was nice, but it felt a little bit, oh, we're going out of focus. And I don't know, maybe it is appropriate to the Joker character and I'm full of shit, but it was alright. It was okay, but I felt like by that point in the film I was done, and it's like, alright, you know, come on. It is, I mean, again, I've been sat here for 3 hours and 45 minutes, what's another 5? But it felt poorly placed, but then I don't know where else you put it either. So it's just one of those things. Then you end with the Martian Manhunter scene, and that's the ending of the film. It didn't feel quite as nice of a punch to it for the ending of the film. I don't know, but overall, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know whether you put that as a post-credit scene because it's such a long scene, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say do without it, honestly. Again, it was nice to see Jared Leto get his moment to do that thing with Ben Affleck, but I think that the film is better without it, probably. And you could have ended stronger, maybe even just with that shot of the Justice League on top of the big, the big kind of power reactor building. That could have been like a great finale to the film, perhaps. I forget if there was like a tie-up sequence with showing what happened next. Perhaps there was. Yeah, I think there's a shot of like Superman pulling open. Maybe that would have been a good one. I just think they could have ended on a much bigger, emphatic moment. And it just kind of all builds, and we have the finale, and then the big dream sequence, and then the sequence with Martian Manhunter, which is like setting up stuff that's not going to happen anyway. It's almost like a fuck you from Zack Snyder. Apparently, I don't know, was that shot or that scene or the Joker scene that he apparently shot in his backyard or something. I don't know if that's true. But you hear these things and you're not entirely sure, because I've read interviews with Zack Snyder and his wife where they've talked about how, we only did one new scene for the film. We only did 2 new scenes for the film. The film's not in 4:3, it's in 1.66 to 1 or whatever, and then it ends up being in 4:3. So I kept reading these conflicting things. I don't know what to trust, I guess. And with the fan base, I mean, there could be fake interviews out there for all I know that I'm being tricked with. But regardless, I really enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't want to say I recommend it, because if you're watching this video this far, you've seen it already anyway. But yeah, it was just I'll definitely buy it, add it to the collection, put it proudly alongside Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I want to buy and own the 2017 version just for film history's sake. I think it's just so fascinating. I know that you shouldn't really support something like that where the director's been a dickhead to the cast, but there's just something really fascinating about it. And it's interesting, I was going to buy it maybe 2 months ago in preparation. It was like £2 on Amazon. Now it's like, or I haven't checked in a while, but it's like out of print. So I had to illegally download the Justice League cut to watch it, because I couldn't order it in on time before the new Zack Snyder version. Very sweet at the end when the film ends with a version of Hallelujah. That was very touching and choked me up a little bit because, of course, as I have read, that was Zack Snyder's daughter's favorite song, and there's a tribute to her. She kind of took her own life while he was making, or during I think it was after maybe the production had finished on Justice League in 2016 or 17, and so I think she was like 18, 19 years old. It's very, very sad, and there's even a shot in the film where he's put in a billboard for kind of, I think, a suicide awareness number or kind of a helpline number. So that was really nice. I think it even ends with like a 4 Autumn, I think her name is, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but that was very sweet, and it was almost like he finished this film for her in a way, because obviously making this film will forever be associated with him, I'm sure, and his wife, who's his producing partner, with the death of their daughter, and that's a very difficult thing to deal with. And so I just felt so happy that he got to finish this and do it the way he wanted to do it and the way that the fans wanted to see it. For me, I enjoyed it and thought, wow, that was really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed this version. But it's so much more of an event and something that's so enjoyable and satisfying to the people who are really big fans of his movies and his DC movies. So I'm so happy for those people who really wanted it so badly and got it. The implications moving forward from the Snyder Cut, I think, are going to be far-reaching and perhaps problematic, because now we're going to get to the thing where it's like release the J.J. Abrams cut of Rise of Skywalker, or release this, release that, and now fans feel like they have a lot more pull than they think they do. I think with this case, I don't know. Again, I think that if fans hadn't kicked up a fuss, would it have happened? Maybe not. Especially this quickly, considering, sometimes these director's cuts, they come around, decades after the original, and the people who were in power at the studio at the time with all the notes and tinkering are long since moved on or have passed away. You get the Blade Runner final cut didn't come around until almost 30 years after the film was released, and that's kind of the definitive version. So sometimes it takes a long time, but this is 4 years is a pretty quick turnaround. But it really was the fans pushing that got this thing moving, I think, so that's cool. But, you're going to get a lot of entitled fans who are now just going to push whenever they don't like something, I think, and that could be tricky. But ultimately, it's a triumphant story. There's the Snyder Cut story, I think, and even down to little scenes like Batman meeting Barry Allen for the first time. That scene is very similar in both versions. But there's a particular shot in the Justice League version, the 2017 cut, as I was watching it the night before, where suddenly the background of Barry Allen looked a little bit fake, and he's like, brunch. What is brunch? And he's doing this little thing, and it feels all cute. A lot of his dialogue is very similar, but I thought that seems like an addition. And when I watched the 2021 version, that little beat about brunch is gone. And it's like, so I'm seeing the seams around the edges. Even the scene when he goes to meet Aquaman for the first time, and Aquaman kind of wades out into the water and turns around, and he's kind of, completely shirtless and everything, and it's a nice eye candy moment. But the background looked very fake and kind of digitally put in, a little bit of a green screen shot in the 2017 version, and sure enough, in the Zack Snyder version, it plays out differently, and you don't see that shot. So the seams are showing, but again, I was looking for the seams, so there's certain things I didn't notice when I watched it in the cinema. But it's just, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's just fascinating. I think the whole story of how the film was released in that state, and how it got finished in a way that was much more faithful to what Zack wanted. The Darkseid character was really interesting. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more of this world now. That's kind of it leaves me with sadness more than anything. It's like this triumphant thing, and I'm so happy that it happened. It's kind of an emotional thing because of his daughter, but then it's like I'd like to see more of this. I really do like all the actors in those roles, and then Ray Fisher really getting to show what he can do as an actor, and that character was really central to the story this time around. And yeah, I don't know, it's almost a shame, but I'm glad that if anything happened, this happened. And you get this thing which like, restore the Snyderverse, let's get this thing going again. It's like, well, you got this, that's a victory. Like, you could have not got this, so let's just appreciate that, I suppose. Anyway, that's it for now. I think I've covered as much as I can, but again, it's a very long film. There's so much more I could have dived into, but it's just one of those things. So that is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you mercifully in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause